This happened just a month ago. I was exhausted from work and thought the quiet woods would help me recharge. I rented a modest cabin near an old observatory, excited to work on my scientific paper about cosmic phenomena. Every night, I could hear the wind rustling the leaves outside. It felt peaceful, and I was hopeful about my writing. But then I started noticing odd things. On my second night, I got an alert on my laptop about unusual radio frequencies linked with a distant black hole. I thought it was interesting and decided to dig deeper. I set my headphones on and focused on the sounds. Suddenly they warped, distorting as if they were trying to say something. I felt uneasy but shrugged it off. Just a glitch, I told myself. As the nights passed, the signals returned, more intense than before. I decided to set up additional receivers around my cabin. If I could uncover something monumental, maybe I'd earn some respect in the scientific community. I remember sitting in front of the screens, headphones squeezing my head. The eerie sounds wrapped around me, feeling like whispers or maybe songs. I couldn't tell. But I started feeling like someone else was there. I didn't want to admit it, but the idea unsettled me. On the third night, just around midnight, I heard a rustle outside. My heart raced. I glanced through the window, but it was too dark to see anything. The cabin felt too quiet. Just the wind, I thought. But every night after that, I spotted shapes moving in the darkness. They danced among the trees, always just out of my line of sight. My sleep was crumbling. Each time I dozed off, the sounds morphed into my dreams, turning into twisted faces that begged for something. I didn't know what. One evening, while monitoring the signals again, a scream pierced through the audio. It froze the blood in my veins. I stood up, eyes wide, straining to see beyond the walls. I thought I was alone, but that feeling shifted. It was like the night pressed closer, the shadows growing stronger. I felt the cold air on my skin and my breath quickened. Then, just as I turned back to the screens, I caught a flicker of movement outside my window. I gasped. A figure stood there, barely visible. I couldn't tell if I was imagining it. Then it vanished. Panic gripped me. I wanted to run. But where? I felt trapped. The whispers escalated each night, blending with the sounds from my equipment. I still couldn't tell if they were coming from the screens or from somewhere outside. It bothered me. Was I losing my mind? The weight of it all was suffocating. And then I remembered what I heard. "Why are you here?" I felt chills. Did someone say that? I stood frozen, staring into the dark woods, unsure of what I was facing. I still didn't know if it was my imagination or if something truly was lurking out there. I could hear the whispers, and this time, they felt impossibly close. I thought about the black hole and the signals. Were they calling to me? I didn't know anymore. The next day, a sense of urgency gripped me. I couldn't ignore what had happened. I needed answers, so I decided to explore the woods. Maybe, just maybe, I'd find the source of the whispers or the figure I saw. With a flashlight in hand, I stepped outside the cabin, the door creaking as I pushed it open. The air was thick and every rustle felt amplified. I walked toward the observatory, the faint outline of its structure looming in the distance. My heart pounded as I navigated through the trees. I felt foolish, straying away from the supposed safety of my cabin, but my curiosity outweighed my fear. The deeper I went, the more the whispers grew in intensity, wrapping around my thoughts like vines. Reaching the observatory, I peered inside. Dust covered everything. Old equipment lined the walls, neglected for years. I stepped over a broken chair and approached the main telescope. It stood as a relic of what once was, but its lens still felt alive. A chill ran down my spine. What if the whispers were remnants of past astronomers? Thoughts of them standing here, gazing at distant stars, suddenly felt ominous. As I inspected the device, something caught my eye, a piece of paper half buried beneath the clutter. I pulled it out and squinted at the faded writing. It was a logbook, detailing various observations made over the years. Among the entries, I noticed one marked with a date from decades ago. It proclaimed an unusual radio frequency detected from the same black hole I had picked up signals from. My pulse quickened. Had others experienced what I was now? I flipped to the next page. The entry was unsettling. It described strange phenomena, voices, shadows, and the feeling of being watched. I shivered. "Why are you here?" echoed in my mind. Just like that, I felt it again. The cold brush on my skin, the creeping sensation that someone was there. I turned abruptly, expecting to see a figure, but was met with empty space. Suddenly, the whispers rose, sharper now. A voice slipped through, clear and demanding. "Leave!" It sent a jolt through me. My breath quickened. I ran back toward the cabin, heart racing, tripping over branches as panic surged. Reaching the safety of my cabin, I slammed the door shut. The unsettling silence wrapped around me like a shroud. I could still hear them, the whispers chasing me as I tried to catch my breath. My mind raced. What had I stumbled onto? Then everything went dark. The power surged off, plunging me into an unsettling silence. Clutching my flashlight, I felt the hairs on the back of my neck rise. I wasn't alone. In the stillness, I heard another voice, a low murmur, almost personal. "You brought this on yourself." I gripped the flashlight tighter, my palms slick with sweat. The voice echoed in my mind, a chilling reminder of everything I had encountered. I needed to think, to calm myself. But that was easier said than done. The shadows in the cabin seemed to stretch and shift, taunting me with their indecipherable shapes. I scanned the room, searching for answers, or at least something familiar to cling to. Then I heard it again. "You brought this on yourself." The voice felt closer now, as if whatever was lurking wasn't just behind me, but inside the very walls of the cabin. I flicked the beam of my flashlight, illuminating the corners, hoping to find something, anything that made sense. What was it trying to say? Had I disturbed something that had been sleeping? I remembered the logbook from the observatory. It had mentioned hosts, hauntings tied to the black hole signals. The connection felt stronger now, a strand of fate intertwining my existence with the cosmic unknown. I took a deep breath and moved toward the cabin's only window. Though it was dark outside, I forced myself to look. In the flickering beam of my flashlight, I could barely make out the outline of the observatory in the distance. There was something strangely compelling about it, a pull I couldn't resist. I wondered if I could find more information, or perhaps even the source of the haunting. But before I could shatter the glass, a loud bang echoed through the cabin, reverberating off the walls. I jumped back, my heart racing. Had the door swung shut? No. It felt like it came from within. That same sense of being watched washed over me again, stronger this time. There was something in the dark corners of the room that didn't want me to leave. I hesitated, torn between the urge to flee and the need for answers. What if I ignored the whispers again? What if they were warning me? But what if I didn't go back? If I stayed, would I be trapped with whatever ghostly presence lingered here? Then I caught sight of something on the floor, a small, glimmering object. I crouched down to pick it up. It was a piece of metal, jagged and cold. As I examined it closely, I realized it bore an insignia I recognized from the logbook. My heart dropped as realization washed over me. This wasn't just a random object. It was part of something larger. Suddenly, the cabin shook as if caught in a tremor. The whispers escalated into a cacophony, their demands now frantic. "Leave! You need to leave!" I stumbled back instinctively, clutching the metal fragment as a panic gripped me. My breath hitched in my throat. I was running out of time. There was something I had to find out, something the forest and the observatory were desperate to tell me. Then, from the shadows, a figure emerged. I froze, heart hammering in my chest. It seemed familiar, its features obscured by the dim light. Yet I felt a deep connection. I wasn't just drawn to the forest. I had been chosen for something. "What do you want?" I shouted, my voice trembling. The figure pointed outside, urgency radiating from it. "You must go back, before it's too late." Adrenaline surged through me as the figure's voice sank into my mind. I hesitated for a moment, the flashlight trembling in my grip. "Go back?" I echoed, the weight of the words clutching at my chest like a vice. "Back where?" The figure only gestured again, urgency woven in its every movement. Instinctively, I took a step toward it. With the cabin closing in around me, I could no longer deny the fear clawing at my throat. What's happening? Then the shadows shifted, turning restless. The whispers morphed into a piercing scream, echoing off the walls. You must go. He is coming. I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. The familiar feeling of dread washed over me, pressing down like a weight. Who is coming? I shouted, but the air went still, as if the wall itself was holding its breath. Before I could catch my breath, the lights flickered, and suddenly, everything plunged into darkness. My heart raced as I swung the flashlight back and forth, searching for the figure. It vanished like smoke, leaving me alone in the suffocating silence. Then came the sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, echoing from the other side of the cabin. Panic coursed through me. I had to move, had to find out what was happening, or risk being consumed in the unknown. I felt my way along the wall, inching toward the door. My mind raced with thoughts of the observatory, the logbook, and the peculiar insignia still clutched tightly in my hand. What connection did they share? Had I unknowingly awakened something more sinister? The footsteps grew louder, each thud sending chills down my spine. I reached for the doorknob, but my hand froze. For some reason, I felt I had to look back one more time. When I turned, the figure had returned, standing at the corner of the cabin, bathed in a faint otherworldly glow. Its expression was urgent, but no words came forth. Instead, it tilted its head slightly as if urging me to make my choice quickly. Then everything erupted into chaos. A blinding flash illuminated the room for an instant, revealing more than just the figure. Strange symbols danced along the walls, moving like serpents, twisting and contorting as they began to pulse with a dark energy. The cabin shook again, but this time it felt different. Like the walls were being drawn inward. Suddenly, the door flew open, propelled by an unseen force. A cold wind howled through the cabin, pulling me toward the threshold. Instinct kicked in, and I launched forward, escaping into the night. But the moment I stepped outside, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The forest was alive, whispering secrets in a language I couldn't understand. I gripped the metal fragment tighter, sensing its significance was far beyond what I had initially thought. Then, that same voice returned, thick with determination. Find me. You'll understand. As I dashed towards the observatory, the gravity of my quest settled over me. If I was going to uncover the truth, I had to face whatever was awaiting me there. And then, a shadow shifted just ahead, taking form in the flickering light of my flashlight. Someone was waiting for me. I stopped dead in my tracks, the breath hitching in my throat. The shadowy figure ahead shifted slightly, outlining a familiar silhouette. My heart raced, and I fought the urge to turn back. The only thing between me and the inexplicable was this figure standing under the skeletal branches. "Who are you?" I managed to call out, my voice cracking. The person stepped closer into the light, revealing a face I recognized, but couldn't comprehend. It was Jamie, my college friend who had vanished months ago during a trip to the woods. I felt a mix of disbelief and shock. "Jamie?" I whispered, hardly believing I was seeing her. Her clothes were tattered, and her hair hung down like ragged vines. But her eyes held a wild intelligence, and they darted around nervously. "You need to listen," she said, urgency thick in her voice. "It's not safe here. We have to leave." "For where? What's going on?" "The black hole signals. They're not just signals." She glanced back, her expression wild with fear. "It's bigger than we thought. Come on." Before I could ask more, she turned and ran, and I instinctively followed her, the flashlight beam dancing awkwardly through the trees. The forest felt alive, branches twisting and writhing as if they had a mind of their own. "What happened to you?" I shouted, gasping for breath. "I was drawn in," she replied breathlessly, like a moth to a flame. "I thought I was just studying the stars, but then it all changed. You have to help me stop him." "Stop who?" Just then the ground shook beneath us. An unearthly roar ripped through the air, sound and vibrations melding together in a terrible cacophony. I stumbled, barely keeping my footing. Panic coursed through my veins as flashes of light flickered in the distance. Jamie stopped abruptly and turned back to me, her eyes wide with desperation. "He's coming for you now, too. You can't stay in this world any longer, not if you want to survive." "What do you mean?" Before she could respond, the trees shifted again, and an ominous figure detached itself from the darkness. A shadow taller than the surrounding foliage, it moved with a deliberate slowness that sent chills through me. I squinted, my heartbeat thundering in my ears. The figure wore a cloak of swirling darkness, its face obscured but radiating an aura of malevolence. "Run!" Jamie screamed. We sprinted deeper into the forest, branches snapping and vines reaching out as if trying to hold us back. My legs burned, but I pushed on, the fear of that looming figure forcing my body forward. Then everything around us shifted again. The whispers returned, louder and more insistent. "You're not alone anymore," they hissed. "The truth is, in the light." I slowed for a beat, trying to catch my breath. "What truth?" "Look!" she shouted, her hand pointing toward the clearing ahead. That's when I saw it, a glimmer of light cutting through the darkness, pulsing rhythmically like a heartbeat. The moment I laid eyes on it, a sense of urgency surged within me. I didn't realize until it was too late that we weren't just running toward the light, we were running straight into whatever was waiting for us there. The moment we burst into the clearing, everything shifted. The air was warmer, filled with a strange energy. The light before us wasn't just a glimmer. It filled the space with a soft glow, illuminating the surroundings and creating shadows that danced like stories on the ground. I felt both drawn in and terrified, as if the glow held a power I couldn't understand. "Wait," I gasped, unwilling to take another step. "What is that?" Jamie glanced back at me, her face a mix of hope and fear. "That's what I was studying, the source of the signals. We need to get closer before he gets here." My instinct screamed at me to hold back, but something in Jamie's eyes urged me forward. I moved toward the light, every nerve in my body tingling with uncertainty. The whispers grew louder, swirling around my mind. "The truth is in the light," they insisted. As I approached, details emerged. The light was emanating from a stone altar, ancient runes carved into its surface. They glimmered under the glow, almost pulsing with energy. It felt like they were alive, attempting to draw me into their depths. I glanced at Jamie. "What do we do?" "I can hardly remember," she said, her voice strained, "but it's connected to the signals. We have to activate it somehow." Before she could finish, we heard the soft crunch of leaves. A shadow flitted at the edge of the clearing. I froze, my breath hitching again. The figure from the darkness had found us, moving closer, each step calculated and slight. "Jamie!" I cried, panic rising. She reached out, grabbing my arm, her grip fierce. "We can't let him stop us. We have to trust the light." The figure advanced, the air thickening around it. I could barely see its features, but its eyes glinted, like stars drowning in a black sea. A chill ran down my spine, and my instinct was to back away. Yet Jamie pushed us forward. "Focus on the altar," she shouted, urgency threading through her voice. "Help me!" We stepped closer, the whispers intensifying, urging me. I felt compelled to reach out, my hands trembling as I placed them on the ancient stone. The moment our skin touched the surface, warmth surged through me, bright and overwhelming. Images flashed in my mind, constellations, ancient beings, and darkness stretching through infinite space. Then a violent jolt coursed across the ground. Everything vibrated, and the figure recoiled, momentarily caught off guard. My heart raced as the whispers turned into a single clarion call. "Unleash the light!" "What do I do?" I yelled, my voice barely managing to break through the chaos. "Channel it!" Jamie cried. I could feel the energy pooling in my hands. The altar was alive beneath my palms. I squeezed my eyes shut, desperate to push this energy into something tangible. But just as I felt the connection solidifying, the figure lunged forward, its movement swift and final. Everything went dark. As the shadows engulfed me, a scream pierced the silence, ringing in my ears. I couldn't tell if it was mine or Jamie's, but in that pitch-black void, A single thought bloomed in my mind. Whatever happened next could change everything. And suddenly, I was not alone. The darkness felt thick enough to push me down. I fought against the weight, my heart in my throat. I tried to move, to open my eyes, but nothing happened. Panic gripped me hard. Was this the end? Had the figure taken us both? But then a flicker of light caught my attention. I strained to focus, and slowly, the glow returned, brighter this time, wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. I was still at the altar. Jamie had to be near. I could still feel her presence, a faint echo in the back of my mind. "Jamie!" I shouted, but no sound came out. Confused, I opened my eyes, realizing the world around me had transformed. I wasn't in the clearing anymore. Instead, I stood within a surreal landscape, swirling colors and strange shapes that pulsed in rhythm with the altar. Where was Jamie? Where was the figure? I reached out to touch the glowing energy surrounding me. It felt cool and electrifying at once, like water from a mountain spring. My pulse quickened. If I could harness this energy, maybe I could find Jamie. With a deep breath, I closed my eyes again and focused on the whispers. They were clearer now, more coherent. "The truth is in the light," they repeated like a mantra. "Seek the path. Follow the echoes." Feeling a sense of urgency, I began to move, the vibrant landscape shifting with each footstep. I could sense something watching me from the edge of my perception, but every time I turned, nothing was there. Just shadows and shifting colors. But then, a voice broke through the tranquility. "You shouldn't be here." I spun around to find Jamie standing a few feet away, wide-eyed and shaken. Relief flooded through me. "I thought I lost you." I rushed toward her, but she held her hand up, stepping back. "No, don't come any closer. This place, it's dangerous." "Dangerous?" I asked, glancing around. It felt alive, swirling with energy and possibility. "But we can harness it. We can—" "Not the way we think," she interrupted, her expression grim. "It's not just about channeling power. The figure, it's still here. It's been transformed." My heart sank. "What do you mean?" She glanced to my left, fear creeping into her voice. "There's something in the shadows, something worse. We activated the altar, but we didn't know what it would unleash." My stomach twisted. Then I saw it, the silhouette shifting behind the colors, more defined now. Its eyes glowed brighter, echoing the light of the altar, and it began to approach, a sinister smile curving across its shadowy face. "This is just the beginning," it taunted, its voice a strange mix of whisper and roar. I felt icy dread, knowing it was too late to turn back. "Run!" Jamie shouted, and I turned, desperate to escape. But as I sprinted, the ground shook and the landscape shifted again, closing off our way. I hesitated. Seconds ticked away, but then I remembered the whispers. There had to be something I could do. Just then, the world seemed to respond, swirling faster, revealing a shimmering path ahead. "Over there!" I called to Jamie, pointing toward the path. We raced forward, but the figure loomed closer, its eyes boring into us like laser beams. In that moment, I realized that we had sparked something we didn't fully understand, and now we had to confront it head-on. Whatever was waiting for us at the end of the path could mean everything, or our end. As we sprinted toward the shimmering path, the figure chased us, its presence suffocating. I could feel the heat radiating from its gaze, and my skin prickled with fear. Jamie matched my pace, her eyes wide with panic. But there was no turning back now. The whispers urged me onward, a seductive call pulling me deeper into the unknown. I focused on the path ahead, where colors twisted and danced, beckoning us into a world that felt both foreign and familiar. "Keep going," I shouted over my shoulder, hoping to drown out the terror creeping into my own heart. But even as the words left my mouth, I faltered. The shadows moved, shifting and merging, creating faces and screaming forms, taunting me. Jamie stumbled, the surge of energy swirling around us, pulling her back. "Wait! I can't! I can't!" I reached out, grabbing her hand. "No, Jamie, we have to keep moving." I didn't know how much longer we could hold out against the dark figure inching closer, its form twisting unnaturally in the light. With renewed determination, we charged ahead, the vibrant colors forming a tunnel-like effect, enclosing us in warmth. I could feel the whispers growing louder, more urgent. The truth is in the light. But just as we thought we were making progress, the path dimmed. An overwhelming force pressed down on us, squeezing the air from my lungs. I glanced back, and the figure had transformed again, growing larger, merging with the very shadows. Now it loomed like a storm cloud, its eyes a blazing red, consuming the light around it. Suddenly, the whispers changed. "It feeds on fear," they chanted. "Don't let it in." My heart raced as I tried to shake off the dread clawing at my insides. "Jamie, it feeds on us. We have to trust the light." She nodded, determination appearing in her eyes. "Okay, let's focus. We can't let it get to us." Together we closed our eyes and reached for the light surrounding us. I felt warmth spreading through me, like sunlight breaking through the clouds. I pictured Jamie beside me, her presence steadying my own, and then I heard it, the echo of our shared fear. It was like a soft melody resonating in the air. "Show it who we are," I shouted, and we opened our eyes again to find the path glowing once more, pulsating with our combined strength. The figure hesitated, its form flickering as if uncertain. "You think you can resist?" it boomed, its voice shaking the ground. "You will falter, just like the others." But as it spoke, I felt a surge of power flowing through me, empowering me. "No!" I cried. "We're not afraid anymore!" With that, a blast of light erupted from our hands, bright enough to push back the shadows. The figure recoiled, its smile faltering. But I knew this was only a temporary reprieve. "Let's go, now!" I yelled, and we sprinted down the glowing path as the figure writhed in our wake, its furious growls echoing behind us. The path narrowed ahead, and I could see a doorway materializing just beyond the light. I had no idea what lay beyond, but we had to go through it. But then, a sudden chill filled the air. Everything stopped. The whispers ceased, and in their place, a new sound emerged, a desperate laughter vibrating from the shadows. I turned back and gasped. The figure was no longer shadow. It was right behind us, looming and unstoppable. "Welcome to your end," it sneered, extending an ink-black hand toward us. In that moment of stillness, my heart raced. We were trapped. But then I remembered the whispers, and a sliver of hope ignited inside me. We weren't alone in this fight. "Ready?" I whispered to Jamie, who nodded, steely determination etched on her face. Whatever happened next would change everything. The moment hung in the air, charged with fear and uncertainty. I could see Jamie's jaw set as we faced the figure, its shadow stretching over us like a heavy blanket. The laughter echoed ominously, making it clear that we had little time left. "On 3, I said, my throat dry. 1, 2, 3. We surged forward, sprinting toward the doorway just ahead. With every step, I felt the figure's presence clawing at my back, tugging at my limbs. "Keep going!" my mind screamed. Then, like a sudden storm, the air shifted again. Just as we were inches away from the light, a gust of wind rushed through, nearly knocking us off our feet. "Jamie!" I shouted, grabbing her sleeve to steady her. But as I did, something cold slithered around my ankle. I looked down, horrified to see shadow tendrils snaking out from the figure, gripping me like a vice. "Don't look back!" Jamie yelled, and I fought against the pull, my heart racing. We stumbled as we continued to run, our breaths quickening. I could hear the whispers returning. "It's only a reflection. Trust the light." With each stride, I focused on the warmth radiating from the door, the brightness that promised safety. Desperation surged through me. "We can do this. Just reach the light." But the shadows only tightened their grip, dragging me back. I dug my hands into the ground, struggling against the force. "No! Jamie, help me!" With a fierce determination, she lunged back, grabbing onto my hand. "I won't let you go. On 3 again." My pulse pounded in my ears. 1, 2, 3. Together we pulled, and for a fleeting second, the grip loosened. But just as quickly, the figure lunged forward, its laughter morphing into a chilling scream that echoed all around us. The sound wrapped around my mind, magnifying my fear as if feeding on it. Then I felt it, a surge of energy from Jamie like an electric current running through our clasped hands. "You're stronger than it," she shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos. In that instant, a flicker of light burst from our connection. The shadows shrieked, momentarily recoiling before surging forward again. "Push! Use it!" We poured everything into that brilliance, the intensity growing until it felt like we could light up the entire realm. The doorway shimmered closer now, and I gritted my teeth, ready to leap through. But then the laughter returned, louder and more triumphant. "You cannot escape me. I will unravel everything you are." "Jamie, let's go!" I shouted, and we surged forward one last time, our feet pounding the ground as we propelled ourselves through the light. Just as we crossed the threshold, I felt a powerful force seize my shoulder, cold and unyielding. I barely made it through as I heard the figure howl in fury behind us. Then everything went quiet. I opened my eyes on the other side, panting heavily. The world was bright here, filled with colors I had never imagined. But just as I began to feel safe, I turned to Jamie, and my stomach dropped. She wasn't beside me anymore. "Jamie?" I called, my voice trembling. Panic surged through me. I searched the expanse, desperately scanning for any sign of her. And that was when I saw it. A shadow creeping back through the doorway we had just left, a familiar dark form slipping between dimensions. The hunt was far from over. I stumbled back, panic clawing at my throat. "Jamie!" I yelled, my voice echoing in this strange new world. But there was no reply. The doorway shimmered behind me, the edge of dark and light blurring, and I felt an inexplicable heaviness settle in my chest. The moment I turned back, the familiar figure emerged, creeping through the light as if it were simply an extension of the shadows. It didn't take long to realize. It had followed us. My heart raced as dread coursed through my veins. "What do you want?" It didn't answer. Instead, it shifted, forming somewhat of a smile, a predator relishing a hard-earned victory. "You thought you could escape," it whispered, the voice blending with the whispers of the dark forest I had left behind. "You are still part of the game." With a burst of adrenaline, I took a step back, forcing my feet to move faster as I scanned this uncharted territory for any signs of Jamie. My surroundings were vibrant yet disorienting, with swirling colors clashing against one another, creating an illusion of endless pathways. I felt disoriented, as though gravity had shifted. The whispers surrounded me, wrapping around my thoughts, urging me to be still, to give in. "No!" I shouted, shaking my head to clear within the chaos. "I won't let you control me." I turned and ran, darting down one of the paths, fueled by a blend of determination and fear. As I moved, the whispers rose, rising like a chorus of voices. They were enticing and cruel, full of secrets and temptations, pulling me deeper and deeper into the colors swirling around me. The air shimmered with energy, and moments of clarity brought glimpses of Jamie, her fierce determination, her eyes filled with urgency. A tether formed between us. I could feel we were linked in this battle, even if she wasn't here. "Find her!" the whispers urged me, seemingly uniting their strength with my own growing resolve. "Together is the only way." I pushed onward, the path shifting underfoot, leading me further away from the figure, but its laughter trailed closely behind. "You truly think you can defy me? I am the fear you carry. I am every haunted dream, every flickering shadow." But it was just a voice, just a shadow, I realized. I wouldn't let it take hold again. I had already faced that darkness too many times. Recalling Jamie's warning made me move faster, instincts kicking in as I approached a glimmering archway up ahead, pulsing with energy. "Keep going!" the echoes shouted. As with every step I pushed the energy through me, pulling at the remnants of light surrounding the path. I didn't have the luxury of time. If Jamie was out there, I needed to find her, before whatever figure was lurking caught up to me again. I burst through the archway, feeling a charge surging behind me. The haunted laughter shattered the silence, igniting my fear once more. I looked back to see the figure anew, more powerful than it had ever been, its very essence woven into the shadows of this realm. "Too late!" it taunted as the cracks of darkness branched out around me, twisting like venomous vines. But I wouldn't be absorbed. I forced myself to focus, centering on those vibrant whispers, feeling the light illuminating my spirit. The path narrowed, and within the light I glimpsed shapes darting in and out, flickering like memories. Then, like a shockwave, clarity hit me all at once. Memories anchored in warmth, laughter shared, and the fight that had brought me here. "Jamie!" I shouted, amplifying her name with my resolve. To my utter disbelief as I called, a silhouette formed at the edge, emerging from the shadow's grasp. Jamie, tattered and fierce, stumbled toward me, eyes wide with recognition. "Jamie!" I breathed, feeling the fraying tether pulling tighter, uniting our energies once again. But the figure shifted, fury written across its darkened features. "You think you can win this battle?" it howled, an echo reverberating through the electric air. "You cannot escape what you brought upon yourselves." With no time to spare, I reached for Jamie, and as our hands clasped together, the connection ignited, forging a bridge through the chaos. "Focus," I urged, feeling the collective strength between us blossom like a wildfire. The warmth of our shared resolve pushed against the shadows. Together, we took a step toward that pulsating light at the end of the archway, our hearts aligned in determination. The figure roared in outrage, a sonic wave crashing down upon us. But as we pulled each other forward, the bond radiated, a shield of brilliance that sliced through the darkness. Then, everything shifted. The very world around us pulsated, writhing with our combined energy, illuminating the path, and in that breathtaking moment, I understood. The shadows flickered, caught off guard, momentarily losing their grip. "Channel it! Use the light!" I shouted, and Jamie nodded, her heart melding with mine, our resolve unyielding. This wasn't just about escaping. This was about rewriting the fate that had ensnared us. With a final surge, we leaped toward the light, and as our feet hit the threshold, the explosion of energy shattered the darkness behind us, sending the figure shrieking into oblivion. But as we stepped through, the light swallowed us whole, our bodies engulfed in warmth, and that's when I changed my mind. Maybe it was both. Maybe the darkness and the light were merely reflections of each other, unanswered truths woven amidst the outstretched universe. When the world came back into focus, we found ourselves standing in the very clearing where it all began, the stars twinkling above us as if nothing had ever changed. Yet something had shifted deep within both of us. "Are we free?" I asked hesitantly, turning to Jamie. But all she did was look toward the trees, her expression troubled. I had so many questions, and the shadows loomed large in my mind. "I don't know," she replied, the uncertainty reflected in her eyes. "But I can still hear them, the whispers." I could too. They persisted, lingering like echoes on the edge of perception, weaving tales of depth I couldn't quite grasp. We stepped back, glances intertwined with unspoken understanding. We were alive, yet the confrontation had changed everything. What I had witnessed, what Jamie had experienced, it would shape how I viewed reality from now on. "Maybe we should go," I finally suggested, as a chill crept in again across the woodlands. With one last look toward the depths of the trees, we turned to leave. But lingering questions hung in the air like unspent echoes. Had we truly conquered the darkness, or had it merely gone dormant? In the end, I didn't quite know. But I walked away, forever changed, holding onto Jamie's hand, as uncertainty and possibility merged together, waiting to unveil what lay beyond.